Welcome back.
Dude, do you realize how? So for like our sink, right there. So
We sync.
well behind the scenes, behind the stuff.
Give it a peek. See what's
We
back.
sync on like the menu screen, to sync up the
Audio with
video and
video.
audio.
The video audio.
Video. But so here on the pause menu here, have you ever realized how like sexy looking his boots are on there? Go there for a second. Look at those boots. That heel on them, dude. Look at that slender.
Those are like Nancy Sinatra boots.
Yeah, those
It's-
boots are made for walking, dude.
That
Christopher Walken.
That boot is
like-
very left of frame.
Why be walking?
It is very left.
It's just hanging out all the way on the left over there.
Mhm.
You only have one boot.
You only have one too. That's kind of weird.
Dude. I
Do you
mean,
fit
The
in
boot
it?
is
Like,
also the exact same size as the shovel, which is the same size as a feather. Think about that.
yeah,
which is the
everything
same size as a bum.
proportional here.
Boom.
Wah!
Just fucking
Fucking
bombing.
Knock knock, Satan.
Stan?
I've come to your well.
Hail
seeking,
Santa.
Dev, is
seeking
that you?
fairies.
If I ever write anything with the devil in it, I'm gonna call him, and he's like on the. Either you're interacting with him or like he's on the real world or something. We'll call him Dev.
He's on the real world, like real
Dave.
world rules.
I'm gonna call him Dev.
Real World Road Rules Challenge.
Hey, I'm Dev, Lord of the Underworld. What's up?
I'm living here in Seattle with
He's
my
got a
six-
wife beater, a black wife beater that says like
with my 16
heck on it
mates.
or something.
I'm an Aries. I like to fucking party with my bros, dude.
I'd say
love
my
beautiful
favorite possession
girls.
is my pitchfork. I love cruising with the babes in the hot rod.
I don't
and I
bend
mean
my-
hot rod.
I don't bend my
Oh,
knee
believe
to
me, it's hot.
anybody, and I mean anybody, everybody. Don't bend my knee to anyone.
I was like, in heaven, I'm like, fuck this shit. I'm outie.
You
Later.
You ever like researched like biblical, like the devil, biblical Satan?
like the devil. No,
Just
I
Satan.
have not
Lucifer?
researched.
So
The
thought
morning
preve-
star? The one that's cast down?
the thought of a decent amount of people,
Dude, I'm all about the thoughts.
of like people who studied the Bible and shit like that.
Theologians?
Is that so Bible historians?
Pope.
I don't know, but
Popo?
that this
I can't
this
get that right now.
character that's mentioned that we keep ascribing as the same person as actual just like multiple things. Because
Who, Jesus?
no, the devil.
Who be
Because
just...
there's definitely like the devil, but when they talk about the devil, they say he has no form, stuff like that, and then like
That's...
Satan.
There's ways to derive their meaning behind
Let's
that
just-
too.
Yeah,
Come on now.
It's not just
Satan
that. It's
is
it's the inner struggle in your mind of doing things that are evil.
right.
It's the manifestation of that in your mind of a person dictating you to
Well,
do
it's-
things that are evil. But
it
it's
was the
basically
church-
your subconscious wanting to do something evil.
It was the church in the
Check it out.
Dark Ages into the Renaissance, refocusing on it's easier to have one main enemy than it is to have a bunch of randos. So focusing on the devil as this one being.
Yep, they personified
Yeah,
it.
because Satan is a word that means the deceiver or whatever. And there's a lot of people in the Bible that were called Satans. Like Jesus was called Satan one time.
Mm-hmm.
No, Jesus was called Lucifer one time. That's the other thing. Lucifer could have meant this like ruler of like was an analogy for this ruler of like Babylon or some shit. And he was referred to as like, you know, Lucifer the morning star,
Damien.
the light bringer, right? As this whatever false deity or whatever that they looked up to, this false ruler.
Like, what is his name?
And his fall could literally be like his
Melkor
fall
in
from
Lord of the Rings
grace.
lore.
Sure.
Melkor was the discord from the beautiful song that was created by Eru.
But the ring betrayed Lucifer.
But he and so he was never actually Lucifer was never actually the devil at all. That wasn't until Paradise Lost.
Dude,
that
that's
they
gonna
did
be-
Get
that.
behind me, Satan.
That's gonna be the name of my first blues album. Never actually the devil at all.
That's actually the devil. at all.
I'm mad he got dibs on that. Damn it. No.
It's all right.
And then like I'm sure I'm butchering half of this shit. But like, there's like Beelzebub and stuff gets mentioned and whatever. These were all like separate demons in the old days. Some of them dating back to like Pazuzu and shit, like Mesopotamian,
yeah.
Babylonian and Assyrian.
Yeah, and Assyrian, like a lot of these deities or fucking things like angels and stuff derived from other stuff.
Angels and demons.
You're talking about deities.
Deities, but
deities nuts.
deities nuts, dude. King deities nuts, dude.
D.
Flop them right on you.
Wah, wah, wah.
But yeah, but like Beelzebub and shit, which is another name that's been used for the devil. They're all like different things that they just kind of compressed into one. Because he doesn't even act the same in most of the stuff too. It's like
He don't even act.
sometimes they portray him as like a trickster. Sometimes he's a fucking manipulator. Sometimes he's all sorts of stuff.
When that foolish mortal enters that room, they will find that their head becomes quite wet when the bucket of water I've precariously hidden
I'm
upon
such
the
a
doorframe
trickster.
would spill upon their heads.
Oh, bully me.
He there's also people who think that
Milk.
the archangel Samael, who like in like the like his like descriptions, he's very kind of similar, but a loyal angel to God. There's like thought that he was the one who fell and became the devil.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. There's all sorts of stuff. It's weird and interesting. I like reading stuff. I grew up Catholic. Right?
I know.
We've talked
I
about
know.
this.
Oh yeah.
So I've always been interested in like the mythology
We
of it.
know your mom, or I knew that your mom was she a teacher?
Religious ed teacher
Yeah.
for a while, yeah.
Mm-hmm. I'm still practicing, but my faith is still like I don't want to get too much into it because I find it personal.
Yep.
It's an experience.
Yep. I don't judge anybody for having
No,
it.
and I don't.
If it creates you being an asshole, I judge a little bit. But
No, and I have my total issues with it, but that's the thing.
Yep.
I can never completely call myself one or the other.
I checked the undecided box.
I'm in the ground of like I'm going on this journey. I'm seeing where it goes,
Yep.
and it's a lifelong journey. So you'll
Yep.
never know
Yep.
because we can't know the unknown.
No, exactly. You never will.
It's beautiful.
For all I know, it could just be like people say a fucking projection. That'd be weird. You just like Matrix situation. You just wake up and you're just like, oh fuck.
I'm in it for the
Could be all
stability
sorts of
of
things, dude.
the stability of community and the things I can derive from knowing. I guess the ideology behind it, deconstructing it for myself, and using it in my own life.
It's the old adage, life is what you make it.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
honestly, if the golden rule was the only thing I could take away from the Bible, I'd be good. The golden rule is just do not treat people horribly.
Yep. Do
If
unto
that's all,
others
the teachings
as you want
behind
them to do unto you.
the only teachings that I like in the Bible are love,
Yeah.
love thy neighbor.
Like what Jesus was actually talking about.
What he was actually talking about was love one another.
That's the name of my second blues album. What Jesus was actually talking about.
Because he was like the memes have said millions of times, he was a Middle Eastern Jew hippie
Yeah,
that
preached love. That's
love,
it.
Yeah.
The
Love and
passage,
acceptance and not judging anybody.
the love or the part of the Bible I like is Saint John said, "God is love," and that's all I'm sticking with. Is it's not a person. God is this essence in yourself that you can put onto other people.
God is
this
love, baby.
you're putting love out there.
Yeah.
You're spreading God's love, which is basically, in essence, just a lovely sense of community.
Yep.
It's not. I don't see it as this deity that's controlling everything. I see it as this feeling, a spiritual feeling that you can share with other people.
Feeling that connects us all.
Yeah, and
Yep.
that's my personal belief in
Yep.
it, and that's fine. I think you can see it in many different ways. A lot of people like to be zealots with it and do it and misconstrue all of this stuff. I don't abide by that. It's, like I said, a personal thing. Not everybody will follow the same route. Even, people that I know don't even agree with my approach to it, but I've known it and it's helped me through a lot of stuff. So if anything, it's a good thing for people to just try.
Right.
See if it connects with them.
I remember like when I was younger, but kind of like older younger, if that makes sense. Like maybe not quite middle school, but
Sorry,
maybe
Jakey.
middle school.
Yeah.
Middle school maybe. It had to be because I was doing
Had to be.
confirmation stuff. And I remember like one of the priests was there, and it was like, you know, kind of open the floor for questions type situation. And like one of the kids asked like straight up, just like, you know, like, well, what if you're not a Christian? Can you...
Just like an edgy kid.
Yeah.
What if you're just like not?
He just laid it. He's like, well, what if you're not a Christian, but you're still a good person? Could you go to heaven? And I was like, that's the fucking T right there. Drop that shit on me, priest. Like, I'm ready for you to just be like, nah, dude, you gotta have your faith in Christ, bro. And like,
That's just a way of communicating.
That's just a way
It.
of life.
and then he was just like, yeah, you know, I believe if you're at spirit, you know, a good person, and only like put out positive stuff to the world, that you are, you know, that you will get into heaven. And I was just like blown away because I was like, what?
No, that's what priests do. They
What?
if somebody
'Cause they have
says
their
like,
own personal beliefs too.
priests always say like, and this is really true. Like,
Had a lot that personally believes that pets go to heaven, like shit like that.
well, that too. Like that's just bizarre. But the people like
Is
go
it, though?
when priests say I have to get on that side and say that. But I'm saying when priests are asked or like told straight to their face, I don't believe in God.
Yeah.
Priests' only rebuttal is like, well, he believes in you. It shuts them down
Yeah.
entirely. It's
Yeah.
like, well, I can't refute that.
And there was an interesting stat. I don't remember what it is. It's more than you'd think, though.
Was it Constitution?
A lot of people who become priests through like study theology and stuff, a lot of them come out as like non-believers, because I don't know if it's just like they're initiated in the secrets or some shit, or that they just realize this was written by a bunch of people like many years after Jesus died, and
Not written by the guy.
not written by the guy himself, and that the books were picked and choosed out of
And it
chose
depends on
out
what
of a bunch
version they're
of...
reading
That's
too.
supposed to be
Yeah.
like
The King James.
There's
quote
like-
unquote author of the Bible is Jesus himself.
No,
No, it's his
it's
apostles.
his apostles.
Okay, because you
Oh.
said the guys. So.
Oh,
Well, there's the Old Testament and the
yeah,
New Testament.
the New Testament.
The Old Testament was not written by any apostles. It
No.
was like Revelations and all that stuff was like by scribes.
No, Revelations was New Testament. That's the end of the world shit.
Well, then I'm
That
thinking
was-
of audit the.
There's like there was like at least that they found somewhere between 4 and 6 like other versions
right.
of
Yep.
the apocalypse story.
Yep.
Um,
That's bizarre too.
that they chose the John one,
hmm
and John is like, everybody thinks John is like John the Apostle, but it's this other guy John, and he
The
was
Book of John.
Yeah, he was a dude, lived much later, was exiled from where he was or some shit, and he was like a preacher of like the church, but people also were just like, but maybe it wasn't out of belief, because he like, it seemed like he was using a lot of it as like coded, like veiled threats to speak out against, or veiled way to speak out against Rome without like actually doing it.
hmm
You know, like basically code, and certain words and people stood in for whatever.
hmm
And then like, I don't know if he was exiled or if he like self-exiled himself, but he went to this island. He was in a cave, bunch of fucking moldy ass bread, and like no water and shit, and was just like essentially tripped out and fucking wrote
Revelation.
Revelations, and which again is a book that when
Really.
it was
looked
written,
at-
it was written as something that he was, I think they said was gonna like, was like a sermon he was gonna give essentially,
Mhm.
or thing he was gonna speak to people. And again with that thought, because if you look at Revelations, it
Whoa.
really does line up with a lot of people and events that were happening in the time,
Mhm.
and like the people standing in for Rome and shit like that, and Caesar and like all that stuff. I don't know if there's Caesar at the time, maybe. So it was like it could be taken as like it was a veiled, you know, manifesto against Rome and shit.
Mhm.
But they liked it the most and put it in the fucking Bible. There's other ones they had, and we're just like, nah. There's a lot of books like that, like the Dead Sea Scrolls and stuff.
Yeah, I
Call
was
them
gonna
the
mention that.
Apocrypha.
I was going to
The
mention the Dead
apocryphal
Sea
books.
Scrolls.
It's weird.
The
And then it
apocryphal
gets
books.
translated from a translation of a translation of a translation.
of a translation of a translation.
Like, so it's
Billions and
it's
billions
filtered
and
through so many
billions of
translations, and shaping by like the people who put it together.
Getting dates wrong too.
Dates wrong. It could be get intended messages wrong because multiple words can mean multiple things. It's
Mhm.
what they think happened with the whole part that the fucking hardcores always go to for being like God talking out against gay people. They're saying like one of the
That again is
Leviticus,
just people misconstruing
but like
a lot of stuff.
the wording they used, it kind of points to it. But like the other definition or the other way that line could have been interpreted was as like a child molester,
Well,
right? Which like,
Back in the
but
day,
I mean that's what that was
what
the
they-
other. Yeah, exactly. There we have when
That
I
was
said
normal,
that now.
yeah.
When I say that now, you think about the stupid shit that they always would say of like. That's why still to this day people are scared of their kids interacting with gay people that are ignorant of that. Who
because they think
they're kid diddlers.
because
That was like
they're
a
like
prevailing myth back in the day for a long time. It was like these guys will
yeah, even in like the 50s
will
they called
touch your kids.
they called them deviants and perverts.
Yeah. So obviously, since that's an old way of thinking, and that was an old way of whatever, that was a they were acceptably interchanged, and so with the way they did it, it made it seem like he was talking about gay people, but in reality, he may have been talking about
a bunch of different things.
kid diddlers, not gay people. So.
And even if it isn't that
Also,
one
it
passage,
wouldn't surprise me if they did say shit about gay people, 'cause since it was written in the time that it was written in, people were not cool with that shit then.
I would say
But still, a lot
in
were.
Roman
That was
times,
weird.
men were actually looked at more desirable than women.
Well, a funny thing too, something that
Because men at that time, I'm just gonna say,
yeah,
men were the superiors.
oh yeah,
So another man looking at another man and being like, well, that man's beautiful.
yep,
He's a superior being than this person.
yep,
I find that man attractive.
yep.
They didn't care. They're just like, let's be boys, guys.
Another interesting manipulation, by
We're running a little bit long, but we'll end here.
Okay, I'll go quick. Another thing that was lied about that became widely believed. Christians wanted to frame the Romans, the heathens and shit, as bad people. So they said that like orgies back in the day did not necessarily mean like just a sex fueled whatever.
Debauchery,
There was just this big party of a bunch of shit happening.
Mm-hmm.
While I'm sure like orgies like we know them as actually happened, that was just generally what they were called. So they were just big ass parties, but the Christians started framing them as such to make them seem like
Sodomy.
like they were bad, debaucherous and stuff like that.
Full of
Where they were
sin.
saying like the evidence is that, you know, it's pretty much just like people have been with their sexual preferences
People
you know.
have been.
and sexual activities.
Well, I
They
think,
did some. I mean, especially with like Caligula and shit.
I think even like
that's the guy right there.
Socrates and Plato were both quoted as saying, "Yo, you eat ass."
I believe it. I think one of the most famous lines of ancient philosophy is to eat or not to eat. That is the ass question.
And that's where we'll end it. Talking to this walrus.
Danton Walrus. And
I know that
ask
was Romeo and
questions.
Juliet and not any of those guys, by the way. I fucked up again. It's not Romeo and Juliet either. It's Hamlet, but it's both by Shakespeare. So go fuck yourself.
Who's to say? We don't know. There's
Oh yeah,
and a ghostwriter
oh yeah.
too.
It might be that Shakespeare didn't write most of his shit.
Shakespeare.
We don't know.
Was not a
That's a
person.
conspiracy for
He was
another
an
time.
idea.
Shakespeare wrote the Bible.